lecture series of infective pharmacology. Now we will see today malaria. It's a common disease or common disorder. It's a mosquito-borne infection, okay, which is caused by protozoans. It is caused by protozoan. It is not really caused by the mosquito, that is insect, right? So basically they are the carrier, and inside their body there is a protozoans, and that protozoan is called plasmodium. That is called plasmodium. So basically the mosquito which bites you is the vector. It is the vector, or you can say it is the carrier which carry the infective, that is the protozoans, which causes the protozoans, okay, and that is called the plasmodium. So what are the signs and symptoms of malaria? Everybody know it's a common disease, right, in the developing country, right? Fever, fatigue, vomiting, headache. So we have fever, fatigue, vomiting. Because of the fever there is a dehydration, and because of the dehydration there is a headache, okay. So these are interrelated signs and symptoms. Sometimes this malaria enters into the or crosses the blood-brain barrier, the toxins, okay, the release from this malarial parasite or malarial protozoan, they release and they enter into the brain, or they cross the blood-brain barrier and they causes convulsion, or you can say seizure, coma, okay. So these are all about the sign and symptoms. Everybody know this, okay. So symptom usually not start on the day of bite. That is about, it's very important to remember symptoms when they appear. So after the bite by mosquito, and mosquito is female Anopheles mosquito. It's especially female Anopheles mosquito. After the bite of female Anopheles mosquito, the sign and symptoms of the malaria usually didn't start from the same day. It usually take like 7 to 14 days to start the symptoms, and that is why the history of travel 14 or 15 days before you should ask to the patient. So usually we thought that on the day of bite we will get the sign and symptoms of the malaria, but it is not like that. Basically, to see or to show any sign and symptoms after the bite because of the malaria, it will have certain incubation period. During that incubation period, the protozoan, that is plasmodium, which is present inside the gut of female Anopheles mosquito, it will enter into the blood circulation of the human being. After entering into the blood circulation, it will divide and redivide, and when the number increases, RBC rupture. Whenever there is a rupture of RBC, there is a release of a toxic pigment, that is a hemozoin pigment, and that hemozoin pigment, because of the release, they causes the fever. So it will take 7 to 14 days to see any sign and symptoms. So usually if there is a female Anopheles mosquito bite, okay, in the morning, you don't see the sign and symptoms. So whenever there is a patient which is coming with the sign and symptoms of malaria, you should ask the history of sign and symptoms, along with the history of any distant travel or travel to any developing country or crowded places where there are more chances of mosquito bite, right? So these are the symptoms. Common symptoms are fever, fatigue. Because of the fever there is a dehydration. Because of the dehydration there is a headache, vomiting, okay. If sign and symptoms get more and more worse, then patient can land up into the convulsion and coma, right? Usually there is a chances of reinfection, okay. If person suffering from malaria and then he got some treatment for that particular malaria, and then sign and symptoms subside, still there are chances of reinfection. So in case of this malaria, there are still chances of the, and it's a common one, right? And what is the name of vector which carry the plasmodium? This is the pathogen. What is meant by pathogen? Pathogen means the organism which causes the diseases. Pathogen means the organism which causes disease itself. And what is vector? the vector which carry the pathogen. Vector which carry the pathogen. This pathogen doesn't directly enter into the human body. It needs some carrier. It needs some vector. Who is the vector? Female Anopheles mosquito. What is the name of vector? Female Anopheles mosquito. So to control the malaria, you don't have to think about the pathogen, that is the Plasmodium, because Plasmodium doesn't come by himself, okay, or by itself into the human body. For that he need the female Anopheles mosquito, or he need the mosquito. So if you want to control the malaria, you don't have to control the pathogen, that is a Plasmodium, but you have to control the mosquito. If you kill the mosquito, okay, if you get away from this mosquito, you will not have any chances of getting the malaria or infected because of the Plasmodium. So that is why it is called vector-borne disease. That is why the malaria is called vector-borne disease. What is the name of vector? Female Anopheles mosquito. Okay. And what is the name of infective pathogen? That is the Plasmodium. It is the Plasmodium, right? So if you see, this is all about which one? That is called malaria. Now there are another vector-borne disease like filaria. That is the filaria. So filaria, which causes filariasis, and this is caused by Vaucheria bancrofti. It is caused by Vaucheria bancrofti. Okay, so it is caused by Vaucheria bancrofti. Usually this filaria or filariasis, it is not spread inside the bloodstream, as this Plasmodium spread inside the bloodstream into the RBC where they multiply. This filaria, that is Vaucheria bancrofti, this basically spread in lymphatics, and that is why it is called lymphatic filariasis. That is why it is called lymphatic filariasis. Okay, and the name of nematode, which is for the filariasis, is the Brugia malai. It is the Brugia malai. Okay, so Brugia malai is the nematode. Okay, so these are basically your which one? That is called, we are talking about the malaria, and this I just also want to cover something about the filaria, and that is why I took this filariasis. Okay, now we will see, if you see the filariasis, okay, now this is all about the filariasis, so we don't go in a detail of the filariasis, we just again come back to the malaria. So how the malaria transferred? It is transmitted by the bite of female Anopheles mosquito. And how it will introduce, like if this is the mosquito, right, so this is the wing of mosquito, and then when this mosquito, this is the arm, when this mosquito bite, so along with the saliva of this mosquito, the parasite which is present in the salivary gland of this mosquito enter into the human body, enter into the person's blood. Okay, now from the person's blood, this parasite travel to the various blood circulation and ultimately end into the liver. Ultimately, it will go to the liver, which is called enterohepatic circulation, right? So it will travel from the bite side to the liver. Okay, here inside the liver, it mature and it will start dividing and reproducing. So it will mature, then divide and reproduce or increase in number, that is in the liver, right? And then from liver, it will enter into the circulation. From circulation, it will enter into the RBC. Here they multiply, okay, and increase in number. Here they start separating their structure, right? So that is called like male and female. But in case of human, there is a asexual reproduction, and that is how they increase in number. When they change into male and female, this specifically RBC bursts, and they will release into the blood circulation. Again, the mosquito came for the meal, and they drink the blood. Okay, along with the blood, they enters this separated and male and female. Okay, that is the sporozoite, and this sporozoite enter into this particular mosquito where they divided into male. There is a sexual reproduction inside the GIT of this mosquito, and then after that reproduce and they remain into the salivary gland. Again in salivary gland, when they go for the second meal, they inject the during the meal they inject the basically this particular plasmodium into the blood circle. This is how the cycle takes place. So in human it is the asexual reproduction, and in case of this mosquito there is a sexual reproduction. Okay, now there are 4 species. Okay, whenever there is a name of any organism or any plant, there is like a genus name and there is a species name. Okay, like human, Homo sapiens. Okay, in the same way Plasmodium is the genus, and in Plasmodium there are various species, right? So the first is Falciparum, then Vivax, Malaria and Oval. Okay, so Plasmodium, Falciparum, Vivax, Oval and Malaria. Okay, there is one more which is given in some old book, and the name of this species is Novelsi. Novelsi. This is the 5th one. This is the 5th one, but this is not common in human beings, and that is why we will not discuss about this Novelsi species. Falciparum, Vivax, Malaria and Oval. Out of this Falciparum is far dangerous. I want you to remember Falciparum is far more dangerous, okay, because it will enter into your blood-brain barrier, or it will cross the blood-brain barrier, and that is how it will causes the malignant type of malaria or cerebral malaria. Once the thing enter into your brain, when your whole body is controlled by the central nervous system, and if central nervous system is get affected, then there are more chances of that is the degraded or more chances of severe diseases, and that's land up into convulsion, seizure and coma, because these are the CNS originated sign and symptoms. So usually in Plasmodium falciparum you will get convulsion, seizures and coma like sign and symptoms, and it is the dangerous one, and that is why it is which causes which malaria? Malignant malaria, or it is also called cerebral malaria. So how many type of like species are there? Falciparum, Vivax, Malaria, Oval. I don't want to remember Novelsi because it is very rare, or you cannot see any case of this Novelsi in a human being. These are the 4 one. Out of this 4 one, Falciparum is the most malignant one, or it will crosses the blood-brain barrier. Okay, so this is all about your which one? The malaria. What are the types of malaria? Not the types of malaria, pathogen. What are the various species of the that is Plasmodium? Then etiopathogenesis. In etiopathogenesis, how will you diagnose the patient is suffering from the malaria? It is diagnosed by examination of blood. Just take the blood of the patient, see the blood of that patient. Inside the blood there is a RBC, or there might be a rupture RBC, and you can examine the microscopic detail of this pathogen. So diagnoscope or diagnosis of the microscopic examination of the blood using the blood film or blood sample. Okay, and there are certain antigen based rapid diagnostic test, PCR and all you will not really use. So it is the test is called PS for MP. So PS stand for peripheral smear for malarial parasite. So we will take the smear or blood sample, and then you can see the malarial parasite. So this is all about your which one? How will you diagnose? Okay, now what are the main sign and symptoms? In short, we discuss about what are the sign and symptoms, how will you manage, what are the various causes of this malaria, what are the various type of species in case of Plasmodium. Now we will see list of sign and symptoms in case of malaria. So whenever I taught you malaria, like a couple of minutes before, I told about the Vaucheria bancrofti, that is Brugia malaria thing. It is filariasis. So I just want you to remember some line about the filariasis. Now we will see the sign and symptoms of the malaria, right? What are the various type of malaria? What are the sign and symptoms? So I already told you there are like 4 types of or 4 species of the Plasmodium. Plasmodium falciparum, Plasmodium vivax, Plasmodium malaria and Plasmodium like falciparum, which is the far worst, that is the falciparum. So central originated sign and symptoms, systemic sign and symptoms, your skeletal system or muscular sign and symptoms. So like these are various, or you can see with the help of naked eye like some rash on your skin. So respiratory sign and symptoms. So these are various sign. Organ has certain sign and symptoms. So we will see the sign and symptoms. I don't go in a detail how to differentiate sign and symptoms. You already know the signs are elicited by the physician and symptoms they are seen or told you by the patient in the layman language. Okay, so you have to see the sign and ask for the symptoms. This is very simple sentence. See the sign and ask the symptom to the patient or relative of the patient, and that is how you can diagnose the diseases and you can start treating the diseases. So whenever there is a malaria, I said there is a convulsion or you can say coma. So whenever I say convulsion, seizure or coma in case of malaria, this is because of the far most dangerous, that is species, that is falciparum. So because falciparum, they can cross the blood-brain barrier and they can give you the sign and symptoms like convulsion or coma. So central sign and symptoms, it is the convulsion and coma, or patient not oriented with time, place and person. So you cannot really ask the history to the patient because patient is not oriented with time, place and person. You can see patient is having convulsion, coma, confusion. Patient is not oriented with time, place and person. In such cases, you cannot ask the history to the patient. You can see that what are that particular sign, the coma or convulsion, and you can ask the history to the relative of the patient who is the close relative. Okay, so central, these are very severe. Systemic, you already know, fever. Okay, so fever it is because of the release of, that is called pyrogen inside the blood. Okay, so whenever there is any kind of infection which attack the human body, there are release of the pyrogen and that pyrogen causes the fever. So fever is a defense mechanism of your body. If you see the fever, something is wrong inside your body and your immune system already started fighting with that particular infective agent or toxic agent. So systemic sign is the fever. There are various type of fever like quadratic fever, step laden type of fever, continuous fever, intermittent fever, right? So these are the various type of fever according to the time period, like quadratic type of fever, tertian type of fever, or step laden type. Step laden is like, now it is like 99, then it is 102. So it's increasing step by step. Okay, so this is all about the various type of fever, and on the basis of type of fever you have to diagnose the various diseases, because in diseases there are special type of fever. The pattern of, not type, it is the pattern of the fever. Now what are the skeletal sign and symptoms? So muscular pain is there. Okay, in case of the malaria, or fatigability will be there, back pain will be there, right? Skin, chills, sweating and rigor. Okay, so when there is an increased pyrogen, there is a fever and there is an increase in temperature. To maintain that temperature, you already know, whenever you are in warm places, your body starts sweating. And because of sweating, your body cools down. That is a natural hemostatic mechanism of your body. But in case of the fever, your body already start increasing temperature, and natural response is like sweating, and that sweating is nothing but to cooling down your body. And because of that, it is not because of the high temperature, it is because of the fever or infective cause. So patient can also have the chills, okay, sweating, and sometimes there is a body movement that is called the rigor, right? So skin, you can see chills, sweating. Rigor you can include in the skeletal because it's a movement, right? Respiratory sign and symptoms, you don't see a lot of respiratory sign and symptoms. In case of the malaria, there might be a common cold type or dry cough type, but you don't really see the respiratory sign and symptoms in case of the malaria, right? Spleen, if you palpate the spleen, you already know where exactly the spleen is, right? So if it is the human body, this is the chest, the pelvic region, here there is a stomach, Here there is a pancreas and here there is a spleen. It is act as a reservoir of RBC and it is also called graveyard of RBCs. Reservoir, storage of RBC, graveyard. RBC, the lifespan of RBC is 120 days. Once the RBC is dead, it will come here and it will act as a graveyard. Here there is the degeneration of your red blood cell. So it is a graveyard and reservoir. Actually, in case of the malaria, everything happen inside the RBC. RBC get busted, and all these dead RBC enter into the spleen. So number of dead RBC will be increased, and because of that, storage of dead RBC will be more and more, and because of that, size of this particular spleen it will increase. And that is called splenomegaly. Megaly is increase in the size of spleen, and this splenomegaly is one of the most important sign where you can see the condition of the patient. So you can see on the left side of your, that is abdomen, you can palpate with the, like you already know, whenever there is a diagnosis you have to perform the inspection, palpation, percussion and auscultation. What is inspection? Look through the naked eyes, what are the scar or any sign and symptoms. Then palpation, you have to palpate with the help of finger and try to see where there is an increase in size or where there is a pain and tenderness. Then you will percuss. Percuss means whenever you percuss that particular organ, you need to see either it is a solid or it is a hollow organ. If it is a hollow organ, there might be a fluid or there might be a blood or there might be some solid thing inside. So that is on percussion. Then auscultation, you can use the stethoscope and you can see the abnormal sound in heart or somewhere else, that is the colicky sound. Okay, and then these are all about inspection, palpation, percussion and auscultation. So here splenomegaly you can go for the how will you diagnose? By the palpation, or if it is like they are grading like grade 1, grade 2, if it is the huge in size, then you can see with the naked eye and patient can also say that there is a pain in abdomen. Nausea, vomiting, these are all the systemic sign and symptoms you can see in case of the patient of the malaria, right? So in this lecture we will see about what are the causative agent of malaria, then what are the various species of this particular plasmodium, how will we enter, what is the life cycle, then what are the sign and symptoms. In next lecture we will see how this disease present, what are the lab investigation and how will you treat this disease.